We have a climate that is not doing very well. That is impacting on what people can eat and drink and how they can live their daily lives. And we have a security climate that is really not doing terribly well. We have a war in almost every corner of our world, an armed conflict. And we have pandemic. It's not a very stable time. Therefore, we are living in the worst of times and the best of times. We know that we're living in a moment in time in which over 75 million people are stateless and homeless, basically destitute.
When people think of refugee situations, it's more than just refugees because of war. There's refugees because of climate change. There's refugees because of food scarcity. There's almost as many reasons for a person to be a refugee as there is refugees.
We have refugee, we have displaced, and we have migrant. We have adults, children, unaccompanied minors, where they're going, where they're coming from, what's their story.
We didn't took anything, clothes, nothing, just left our home. We know that if we live in Afghanistan, we were killed by Taliban, and this is the only chance for us to flee Afghanistan.
And if we think that as adults, it is darned challenging to be stateless and homeless, then what can it possibly be for children?
The average length of time someone spends in a refugee camp in the world today is 20 years.
There's still refugees in Rwanda. They've been 25 years in the refugee camp.
That's a generation.
If you grow up as a refugee, life will be really different than grow up in here.
The whole act of being on the move distances these children from everything that is stability.
How do we break that cycle?
It is faith that brings most people at least to the table to have a conversation and to explore ways of that reconciliation.
Prayer is a key activity that has historically united people from all around the world, from different nationalities and different ethnic backgrounds.
It's really easy to understand that the other person is motivated by faith, motivated by something higher than themselves. And even though it's not the same faith that I share, we both are trying to be better and do better and to serve a higher purpose. And so working in that context, it's really easy to lay aside doctrinal differences.
It is extremely complicated when you don't have that spiritual component into it.
In Hebrew, the word for life, chaim, is in the plural. You can't write life in the singular in the Hebrew language. Because if you want to live it meaningfully, if you want to make a difference, you got to live it in the plural with other people being connected.
That while members of faith communities often have the will to be a force of change, they also lack the awareness of the available actions they can take to provide adequate support to children.
The value of convening interfaith service and prayer is to enable faith leaders and their communities to come together and build a better world for children.
We are as strong as the most vulnerable. So if we can ensure that the most vulnerable are strong, that's the rest of us all right there.
When I first started working with the United Nations, one of my mentors told me, you have to know when to sing a solo and when to sing as part of a choir. And over the years I've discovered at the UN, it's always part of a choir. And that's one instance where I really admire the work of Arigato and everything that they are doing, because they know how to assemble the voices of a choir.
Arigato International uses an interfaith approach in the work to improve the lives of children. And this is very important to recognize, because when you're talking about children, when you are addressing the needs and rights of children, everyone comes together.
In 2015, I was working in a partnership between the New York Board of Rabbis and UNICEF USA. I received a phone call from my colleague down at UNICEF, and she said to me, she goes, "Would you be interested in speaking at a panel in Geneva on commercial sexual exploitation of children being hosted by Arigato International?" An area I had been working in, but really hadn't found a larger global interfaith network.
First, my name is Fatima Maravio. I am the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone. I'm a proud Muslim woman. I'm not a victim of rape, but I've been a victim of early marriage. So I do understand, because my own definition of early marriage is legalization of rape.
What impressed me about Arigato were the children.
Hola, tenemos un plan.
Tenemos un objetivo.
Acabar con la violencia física y el maltrato humillante.
Pero no podemos solos. ¿Nos ayudas?
¿Te unes con nosotros?
It's the first time I had seen in this space of child protection the voices of children.
Arigato International established the Global Network of Religions for Children, GNRC. This platform brings together faith leaders and their communities to come together to address the challenges that are affecting children at the global, national, and grassroots level.
It also realizes that if we're going to correct some of the inequities of the day, we need you to stand with us. You being the rest of the faith community, and those, by the way, of no faith. You know, we can't just be so restrictive that we only say we're interested in people who believe.
I will give a big shout out to Reverend Nayabera. I have to say his End Poverty initiative blows me away.
There's definitely a common ground that better enables this cooperation. And I would say that this is the right of every child, whether it be through addressing the root cause of child poverty, violence against children, conflict, or other such injustices, or through nurturing positive values, ethics, and spirituality in children. These actions are what actually bring us together.
In Arigato, it's the ones who want to work specifically to see the fruits of their labor and service together on the world's children.
Not only are we improving their immediate lives, but we're improving their lives for generations to come.
We can't just simply say the children are our future if we don't do anything in the present.
Many people are under the impression that all the legislation and all the policies, that everything we need for children is already in place, which is not true.
We need to find the right way to convey the message. And in this case, finding actors, and in faith-based communities, those actors are fundamental for the trust of the communities. It is the way to be able to convey effectively a message and have an impact.
I think more and more governments are realizing the power of faith leaders to engage and disseminate information to their communities, or even encourage their communities to act a certain way.
It's interesting, you know, the word holy in Hebrew, kadosh, when you say it in the synagogue, you have to stand on the soles of your feet. You have to lift yourself up. Because to say, if you want to be truly holy, then you got to stand a little bit higher. And I think we have to remind politicians, let's not look at selfish interests or the interests of a few. Let's look at the many.
Over 80% of the world's population self-identifies with a faith community. We provide over 80% of healthcare and social services and education globally. If we don't have the power to make change, we're not trying very hard.
If you don't have faith in faith itself, we don't have the basic elements of hope.
世界平和実現なさしめたまえ、幼い命を奪われた子どもたち、ご成仏なさしめたまえ、未来の希望である子どもたち、無事成長なさしめたまえ。
The child cannot wait.